Chapter 17. And when it became evening, having left them, he went outside of the city into Bethany, and spent the night there. Now returning at dawn to the city, he hungered. And passing by, he having seen that one fig tree on the way, he came to it, and found nothing in it except leaves only. And he said to it, No longer fruit come into being from you into the eternity. And instantly the fig tree shriveled up. And the disciples having seen, they marveled, saying, How instantly the fig tree shriveled up! And they saw the fig tree shriveled up from the roots. And Peter remembered, said to him, Rabbi, behold, the fig tree which you cursed is shriveled up. And now Jesus answered, saying to them, Have faith of God. Truly I say to you, if you have faith, and do not doubt, you will not only do to that fig tree, but also if you will say to this mountain, Be lifted up, and be thrown into the sea, it will come into being. For indeed truly I say to you, that whoever says to this same mountain, Be lifted up, and be thrown into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but has believed that which he said comes into being, it will be whatever he said. Through this I say to you, also all, whatsoever you ask in prayer, believe that you receive now, and you will have, you will receive. And when praying, stand firm. Forgive if you have anything against anyone, so that your Father in the heavens also forgive you your transgressions. Now if you do not forgive, neither will your Father in the heavens forgive your transgressions. And it came to pass in one of those days, they came again into Jerusalem, and he came into the temple. And as he was walking, he taught the people in the temple, and declared the good news. The chief priests and the scribes were present together with the elders, came unto him, and said unto him, Tell us, in what authority do you do these? And, or, who be that gave you this same authority to do these? Now Jesus answered, saying unto them, Also I will ask you a question, and answer me one word, which if you tell me, I will also tell you in what authority I do these. The baptism of John, from where was it? From heaven, or from men? Answer me. And now they reasoned unto themselves, saying, If we will say, From heaven, he will say to us, Through what therefore have we not believed him? But now if we say, From men, then all the people will stone us, for we fear the crowd. For indeed all are persuaded, hold, that John is as a prophet. They feared the people, for indeed all of them held John as being a prophet indeed. And they answered, saying to Jesus, We do not know. And Jesus answered, saying to them, Neither do I tell you in what authority I do these. Now what do you think? A man had 2 children, and he came to the first, saying, Child, go work today in my vineyard. He answered, saying, I do not desire to. Now afterwards he regretted, and went. And he came to the second, saying likewise. Now he answered, saying, I go, Lord, and went not. Which from the 2 did the will of his father? They said to him, The first. Jesus said to them, Truly I say to you that the tax collectors and the harlots go before you into the kingdom of God. For indeed John came unto you in the way of righteousness, and you did not believe him. Now the tax collectors and the harlots believed him. Now after having seen, you did not afterwards regret and believe him. And now he began to speak unto them, the people, in this, parables. Hear another parable. There was a certain man, master of the household, who planted a vineyard, and placed a thorny hedge around it, and dug a wine vat, and dug a wine press in it, and built a tower, and rented it to farmers, and went away from his people for a sufficient amount of time. And now when the time of the fruit came near, he sent his slaves unto the farmers, so that he received from the farmers, as they should give him out of the fruits of the vineyard. He sent a slave unto the farmers. Now they, the farmers, took and flogged him, and sent him away empty. And again he added, sent unto them another slave. Now they also flogged him, stoned that one, wounded the head, and sent him away dishonoured and empty. And again he added, sent another, a third. Now they also wounded him, and that one was killed and cast out. In summary, the farmers indeed took his slaves, flogged that one indeed, now killed another, now stoned another. And again he sent other slaves more than the first, many others, and they did even so to them, they indeed flogging some, now killing some. Now at last, still having therefore his one beloved son. The Lord of the vineyard also sent his son unto them, saying, What shall I do? I will send my beloved son, because they will respect my son. It may be that having seen this one, they will respect him. Now the farmers having seen him, the son, they reasoned, saying among themselves, This is the heir. Come here to kill him, and we hold down his inheritance, so that the inheritance will be ours. And they took, and cast him outside of the vineyard, and killed him. Therefore when the Lord of the vineyard comes, what therefore will the Lord of the vineyard do to them, those farmers? They said to him, He will badly destroy those evil ones, and will rent out his vineyard to other farmers, who will repay him the fruits in their time. Jesus said, He will come and destroy those farmers, and will give the vineyard to others. Now those who heard said, Let it not be. Now he, Jesus, looked on them, said to them, What therefore is this written? Did you never read this in the Scriptures? The stone which the builders rejected, this became head to the corner. This comes to pass from the Lord, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Through this I say to you, the kingdom of God will be taken away from you, and given to a nation producing the fruits of it. And whoever will fall on this same stone will be crushed. Now on whomever it will fall, it will grind him to powder. And when the chief priests and Pharisees and the scribes had heard his parables, they sought to put hands on, take hold of him, the same hour. And they feared the crowd, the people, since now they held him as a prophet, for indeed they knew that he had spoken the parable against them. And Jesus answered again, spoke to them in parables, saying, The kingdom of the heavens is compared to a king-man, which made a marriage for his son, and sent out his slaves to call for those who were invited to the marriage, and they desired not to come. Again he sent out other slaves, saying, Tell those who are invited, Behold, I have prepared my lunch. My oxen and the grain fed are killed, and all is ready. Come here to the marriage. Now they did not care, and went away indeed to their own fields, now indeed to their own merchandise. Now the rest took his slaves, mistreated, and killed them. Now when the king heard, he was angry, and sent out his armies, and destroyed those murderers, and burned up their city. Then he said to his slaves, Indeed the marriage is ready. Now they who were invited were not worthy. Therefore go on the hub of ways, and as many as you desire to find, invite them to the marriage. So those slaves went out into the ways, having brought together all as many as they found, both evil and good. And the recliners filled the marriage. Now when the king had entered, looked at the recliners, he saw a man there not clothed with marriage clothing. And he said to him, Friend, how did you enter here not having marriage clothing? And he was speechless. Then the king said to the servants, Bind his feet and hands, take him away, and cast him out into the outer darkness. There will be wailing and gnashing of the teeth. For indeed many are called, now few selected. And leaving him, they went away. Then the Pharisees went, and took counsel that they might entangle him in word. And they watched, and sent spies, pretending themselves to be righteous, so that they may take hold of his word to deliver him to the chief, and the authority of the governor. And they sent certain of the Pharisees, their own disciples with the Herodians, unto him, so that he be caught by his word. Now they came and questioned him, saying to him, Teacher, we know that you are true, and teach the way of God in truth. We know that you say and teach correctly, and you do not care concerning anyone, neither receive a face. For indeed you do not look to the face of men, but teach the way of God on truth. Therefore tell us, what do you think? Is it lawful for us to give tribute to Caesar or not? Give or not give? Now Jesus, having known their wickedness, hypocrisy, and considered their own craftiness, said unto them, Why do you tempt me, hypocrites? Show me the tribute coin, a denarius. Bring to me a denarius, so that I see it. Now they brought a denarius to him. And he said to them, Whose image is this, and inscription? Now they answered, saying to him, Caesar's. And now he, Jesus, then answered, saying to them, Therefore repay to Caesar that of Caesar, and to God that of God. And they could not take hold of his spoken word before the people. And when they heard, they marveled over his response, and kept silent, and having left him, went away. Now in that same day, certain of the Sadducees, having come unto him, those denying that there be a resurrection, which they say, there is no resurrection. And they questioned him, saying, Teacher, Moses wrote to us, saying, If anyone's brother having a wife, and this one dies, having left his wife, and having left no children, so that his brother will take to marry his wife, and will raise up seed on behalf of his brother. Now there were with us 7 brothers, and the first married his wife, and having no seed, childless, and dying left no seed, and left his wife to his brother. And likewise, the second also took her to wife, and this one died, neither left seed, was childless. And the third likewise took her, now likewise until the 7 also took her, and left no seed, no children, and died. Now last of all, the woman also died. Therefore in the resurrection, when they will rise, whose wife of the 7 will she be? For indeed all the 7 had her as a wife. And now Jesus answered, saying to them, Do you not through this stray, not knowing the Scriptures or the power of God? The sons of this world marry, and are given in marriage. Now they who are counted worthy obtain that world in the resurrection from the dead. For indeed in the resurrection, when they will rise from the dead, they neither marry, nor are given in marriage. For indeed neither can they die any more, but they are as the angels of God in the heavens, and they are sons of God, being sons of the resurrection. Now concerning the resurrection of the dead that are raised, have you not read in the scroll of Moses how God over the bramble bush spoke to him? The spoken word by God to you, saying, I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Even Moses showed on the bramble bush as he said, Lord, the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Now God is not the God of the dead, but God of the living. For indeed all live to him. Therefore you stray much. And the crowds heard, and they were astonished at his doctrine. Now when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they came together on it. And now one from them, one of the scribes, a lawyer, came near, who heard them inquiring together, knew that he answered them well, answered, saying, Teacher, well said. Then questioned, tempting him, and saying, Teacher, which one is the great commandment in the law, the first commandment of all? Now Jesus answered, saying to him, The first of all the commandments is, Listen, Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and you will love the Lord your God from within all your heart, and from within all your soul, and from within all your mind, and from all your strength. This is the first and great commandment. And now the second is like it this, You will love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. In these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. And the scribe said to him, Well, teacher, you have spoken on truth, because there is one God, and there is no other besides him. And to love him from all the heart, and from all the understanding, and from all the soul, and from all the strength, and to love the neighbor as himself, is more than all the burnt offerings and sacrifices. And Jesus knew that he answered intelligently, and said to him, You are not a great distance away from the kingdom of God. And no one any longer boldly questioned him. Now while the Pharisees were coming together, Jesus questioned them, saying, What do you think concerning Christ? Whose son is he? They say to him, David's. And Jesus answered, saying to them while he taught in the temple, How do the scribes say that the Christ is the son of David? For indeed, therefore how does David himself in the Holy Spirit call him Lord, in the scroll of Psalms, saying, The Lord said of my Lord, Sit from my right hand, until I desire to lay your enemies as a stool for your feet. If David himself therefore said, calls him Lord, and from what then, or how is he also his son? And no one was able to answer him a word, nor did anyone boldly away from that same day question him any more. And a large crowd heard him gladly. Then Jesus spoke to the crowds, and his disciples, saying, The scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat. Therefore all, as much as they desire, saying to you, Keep, and do. Now do not do according to their works. For indeed they say, and do not do. For indeed they bind heavy burdens, also hard to carry, and lay them on men's shoulders. Now with their finger they desire not to move them. Now they do all their works to be seen of men. Now they make their own phylacteries broad, and enlarge the borders of their own garments. And now all the people listening, he said to them in his doctrine, and to his disciples, Beware away from the scribes who desire to walk in long robes, and they love the most honourable place at suppers, and the chief seats in the synagogues, and love greetings in the markets, and to be called by men, Rabbi, Rabbi. Now you are not to be called Rabbi, for indeed one is your teacher, the Christ. Now you are all brothers, and call no one your father on the earth, for indeed one is your Father who is in the heavens. Nor be called leaders, for indeed one is your leader, the Christ. Now the greater of you will be your servant. Now whoever will exalt himself will be humbled, and whoever will humble himself will be exalted. Now woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you who devour houses of widows, and make show with long prayers, through this you will receive more severe judgment. Now woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you shut the kingdom of the heavens before men. For indeed you neither enter, nor will allow those entering to enter. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you travel sea and dry land to convert one proselyte, and when it comes to pass, you make him double the son of hell as you. Woe to you, blind guides, saying, Whoever has sworn in the temple, it is nothing. Now whosoever has sworn in the gold of the temple owes. Fools and blind. For indeed, which is greater, the gold, or the temple that sanctifies the gold? And whoever has sworn in the altar, it is nothing. Now whosoever has sworn in the sacrifice that it is over it, owes. Fools and blind. For indeed, which is greater, the sacrifice, or the altar that sanctifies the sacrifice? Therefore, whoever has sworn in the altar swears in it, and in all things over it. And whoever has sworn in the temple swears in it, and him who dwells in it. And he who has sworn in heaven swears in the throne of God, and in him who sits over it. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you tithes the mint, and the dill, and the cumin, and have forsaken the heavier of the law, the judgment, and the mercy, and the faith. This must be done, and not forsaking them. Blind guides who strain out a gnat, now swallow a camel. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you cleanse the outside of the cup and of the side dish. Now within is full from robbery and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee, first cleanse the inside of the cup and of the side dish, so that the outside of them becomes also clean. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you are like whitewashed sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outside, now within are full of dead bones and all uncleanness. Even so you also outwardly indeed appear righteous to men, now within you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you build the sepulchres of the prophets, and adorn the tombs of the righteous, and say, If we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers of them in the blood of the prophets. Insomuch that yourselves witness that you are the sons of those murderers of the prophets, and you fulfill the measurement of your fathers. Serpents, offspring of vipers, how can you escape away from the judgment of hell? Through this, see, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes, and from them you will kill and crucify, and from them you will scourge in your synagogues, and will persecute away from city to city, so that on you comes all the righteous blood poured out on the ground, away from the blood of righteous Abel, until the blood of Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, whom was murdered between the temple and the altar. Truly I say to you, all these will come on this same generation. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, killing the prophets and stoning those who are sent unto her. How often I have desired to gather your children, which in the manner a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you desired not. Behold, your house is left to you desolated. For indeed I say to you, you will not see me away from even now until you desire to say, Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And Jesus sat directly opposite the treasury, watching how the crowd threw bronze into the treasury. Now he looked up, seeing those wealthy throwing their sacrifices into the treasury, and many wealthy throwing in much. Now he also saw one certain poor widow, who came throwing their 2 lepta, which is a quadrantes. And he called for his disciples, saying to them, Truly I say to you, that this poor widow has thrown in more than all those who had thrown into the treasury. For indeed all these had thrown from their excess into the sacrifices of God. Now she from her lack had thrown in all, as much as her whole living which she had. And Jesus went out, going away from the temple. And some of his disciples came near to show him, and speak concerning the buildings of the temple, how it was adorned with good stones and gifts. One of his disciples said to him, Teacher, what kind of stones, and what kind of buildings? And Jesus answered, saying to them, Look at all these great buildings. Truly I say to you, days will come in which here not a stone will be left on a stone which will not be destroyed. And now he sat on, into the Mount of Olives, directly opposite the temple. The disciples, Peter and James and John and Andrew, came to him, questioned him aside privately. Teacher, tell us when therefore will these be? And what is the supernatural sign when all these intend to take place, come to pass? And what is the supernatural sign of your coming, and of the end of the world? And now Jesus answered them, began to say, See that no certain man deceive you. For indeed many will come on my name, saying that, I am Christ, and will deceive many. And the time is approaching. Therefore do not go after them. Now when you will hear of wars and reports of wars and instability, watch not the trouble. Be not startled. For indeed all these must first come to pass, but immediately the end is not yet. Then he said to them, For indeed nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there will be great earthquakes in various places, and there will be famines, and troubles, and pestilences. Now all these are the beginnings of child labor. And there will be terrors, and will be great supernatural signs away from heaven. Now before all of these things, look at yourselves. For indeed they will put their own hands on you and persecute you, deliver you into affliction, into councils, and into synagogues, and prisons. You will be flogged, and they will kill you. And you will be hated by all nations through my name. And you will be brought to stand beside governors and kings for the sake of me, my name. Now it will disembark to you as a testimony to them. And it is necessary first to have preached the good news into all the nations. Now when they have brought you to deliver you, take no thought beforehand what you should speak, and lay it into your hearts not to premeditate on giving a defense. Whatever is given to you in that same hour, speak this. For indeed it is not you who speaks, but the Holy Spirit. For indeed I will give you a mouth, and wisdom, which all your adversaries will not be able to speak against nor resist. And then many will offend, and will deliver one another, and will hate one another. Now you will be delivered also by parents, and brothers, and relatives, and friends. And from you they will cause death. Now a brother will deliver brother to death, and a father his child. And children will rise up against their parents, and will put them to death. And many false prophets will rise and deceive many. And through the increase of lawlessness, the love of many will become cold. And you will be hated by all through my name. Now he who has endured to the end, this one will be saved. And not a hair from your head will perish. In your persistence, acquire your souls. And this good news of the kingdom will be preached in all the world for a testimony to all nations. And then the end will come. Now when you see Jerusalem encircled by armies, then know that the desolation is near. Now when you therefore see the abomination of desolation that was spoken of through Daniel the prophet, standing where he must not, in the holy place, he reading, understand. Then those in Judea flee onto the mountains. And those in the middle of it, depart from it. And those in the region do not enter into her. Now him on the housetop do not go down into the house, nor enter to take up anything from his house. And he being into the field, not turn back again into those behind to take up his garments. Because these are days of vengeance, the fulfillment of all the writings. Now woe to those having child in the womb, and those suckling in those same days. Now pray so that your escape does not happen in winter, nor in the Sabbath. For indeed there will be great distress on the earth, and wrath in this people. For indeed in those days will be great tribulation, such as not happened away from the beginning of creation which God created, away from the beginning of the world until this moment, also never ever come to pass. And except the Lord had shortened those days, all flesh would not be saved. But through those selected, whom he has chosen, he has shortened those days. And they will fall by the sword's edge, and will be led away captive into all the nations. And Jerusalem will be trodden down by the nations, up until the times of the nations be fulfilled. And then if anyone will say to you, Behold, here is the Christ, or Behold there, do not believe. For indeed false Christs and false prophets will arise, and will give great supernatural signs and wonders to seduce, insomuch that if it were possible, they would also deceive even the selected. Now see, look at yourselves. Behold, I have foretold you all. Therefore if they say to you, Behold, here is in the wilderness, do not go out. Behold, he is in the inner rooms, do not believe. For indeed, just as the lightning goes out away from the east, and appears unto the west, even so will also be the coming of the Son of Man. For indeed, wherever the corpse is, there the eagles will come together. But in those days, immediately after that tribulation, there will be supernatural signs in the sun and moon and stars. The sun will darken, and the moon will not give her light, and the stars will fall away from heaven. And on the earth, constraining nations in perplexity, roaring sea and wave, men faint away from fear, and the expectation of those things coming upon the world. For indeed the power of the heavens will be shaken. And then will appear the supernatural sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then all the tribes of the earth will beat their chests in grief, and then they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven, in a cloud with much power and much glory. And then he will send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they will gather his selected from the four winds, away from the end of them, the earth until the end of heaven. Now when these begin to come to pass, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption comes near. And he spoke a parable to them. Behold, now learn the parable away from the fig tree and all the leaves. When her branch has already become tender, and sprouts out leaves, having already shot out, look away from yourselves. Know that summer is already near. And even so, when you also see these come to pass, know that it, the kingdom of God, is near, on the doors. Truly I say to you, that this generation will never pass away, until all these would come to pass. Heaven and earth will pass away. Now my words will never pass away. Now beware of yourselves, lest your heart be weighed down in excess and drunkenness and anxieties of this life. And suddenly that same day comes on you as a snare. For indeed it will come on all those sitting on the face of the whole earth. Therefore be awake, praying in every time, so that you be considered worthy to escape all these that intend to come to pass, and to stand in front of the Son of Man. Now concerning that same day and hour no one knows, not those angels in heaven, nor the Son, but my Father only. Now just as the days of Noah, even so will also be the coming of the Son of Man. For indeed, just as it was in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until that day Noah entered into the ark. And they did not know until the flood came, and took all of them away. Even so also it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Then 2 will be in the field, the one will be taken, and the one left. 2 will be grinding in the millhouse, one will be taken, and one left. Therefore watch, because you do not know which hour your Lord comes. Now know this, that if the master of the household had known what watch the thief comes, he would have watched, and would not have allowed his house to be broken through. For this cause, you also must become ready, because that hour when you are not thinking, the Son of Man comes. Look, be awake, and pray, for indeed you do not know when the time is. As a man having gone away, left his house, and had given his slaves the authority, and everyone his work, and commanded the doorkeeper in order to watch. Who then is the faithful and wise slave, whom his Lord has appointed over his household, to give them food in time? Blessed is that slave, whom his Lord will come to find him doing even so. Truly I say to you, that he will appoint him over all these his possessions. Now if that evil slave says in his heart, My Lord delays his coming, and has begun to beat the fellow slaves. Now to eat and drink of the drunkards. The lord of that slave will come in that day. He does not wait, and in an hour that he does not know. Therefore watch, for indeed you do not know when the lord of the house is coming, evening, or midnight, or cock crowing, or dawn, lest coming suddenly he finds you sleeping. And he will cut him into 2 parts, and lay his part with the hypocrites. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Now what I say to you, I say to all, watch. I will compare then the kingdom of the heavens to 10 virgins, which took their torches and went out to meet the bridegroom. Now 5 from there were wise, and 5 foolish. The foolish who took their own torches did not take with themselves olive oil. Now the wise took olive oil in their own vessels with their own torches. Now the bridegroom delaying, all were drowsy and sleeping. Now middle of the night, there came into being an outcry. Behold, the bridegroom comes. Go out to meet him. Then arose all those same virgins and adorned their own torches. Now the foolish said to the wise, Give us from your olive oil, because our torches are quenched. Now the wise answered, saying, No, lest it is not sufficient for us and you. Now you even more go unto those who sell, and buy for yourselves. Now when they went away to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him into the marriage, and the door was shut. Now afterwards the other virgins also came, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. Now he answered, saying, Truly I say to you, I do not know you. Therefore watch, because you do not know the day, neither the hour in which the Son of Man comes. For indeed, just as a man going away from his people called his slaves and delivered to them his possessions, and to one indeed he gave 5 silver talents, now to another 2, now to another 1, to each according to their own power, and immediately went away from his people. Now having gone, he who had received the 5 talents worked in them, and made another 5 talents. And likewise he who had 2, he also gained another 2. Now he who had received the 1 went away, dug in the earth, and hid his lord's silver. Now after much time, the Lord came to those same slaves and brought them together with their word. And there came who had received 5 talents, who brought another 5 talents, saying, Lord, you delivered 5 talents to me. Behold, I gained another 5 talents on them. Now the Lord said to him, Well done, good and faithful slave. You have been faithful over a few. I will appoint you over many. Enter into the joy of your Lord. Now there came also he who had received 2 talents, and said, Lord, you delivered 2 talents to me. Behold, I have gained another 2 talents on them. His Lord said to him, Well done, good and faithful slave. You have been faithful over a few. I will appoint you over many. Enter into the joy of your Lord. Now there came also he who had received 1 talent, and said, Lord, I knew that you are a hard man, reaping where you had not sown, and bringing together from where you had not scattered abroad. And I went away afraid, and hid your talent in the earth. Behold, you have yours. Now his Lord answered, saying to him, Evil and slothful slave, you knew that I reap where I had not sown, and bring together from where I had not scattered abroad. Therefore you should have put my silver to the exchangers, and coming, I would have received my own together with interest. Therefore take the talent away from him. Also give it to him who has 10 talents. For indeed to everyone having will be given, and he will abound. Now away from him who has not, and that which he has will be taken away from him. And cast the unprofitable slave into outer darkness. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Now when the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory, and all the nations will be brought together in front of him, and he will isolate them away from one another, just as the shepherd isolates the sheep away from the goats. And indeed the sheep will stand from his right, now the goats from his left. Then the king will say to those from his right, Come here, blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you away from the foundation of the world. For indeed I was hungry, and you gave me to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me to drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. And I was naked, and you clothed me. And I was feeble, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. Then the righteous will answer him, saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and gave you to drink? Now when did we see you a stranger and take you in, or naked and clothe you? Now when did we see you weak or in prison and come unto you? And the king answered, and will say to them, Truly I say to you, onasmuch as you did to one of the least of these my brothers, you did to me. Then he also will say to those from his left, Go away from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For indeed I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you took me not in. I was naked, and you did not clothe me. I was weak and in prison, and you did not visit me. Then they will answer him and say, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or weak or in prison, and had not served you? Then he will answer them, saying, Truly I say to you, onasmuch as you did not do to one of the least of these, you did not do to me. And these will go away into everlasting punishment, now the righteous into everlasting life. Now in the days he was teaching in the temple, and in the nights he went out, and spent the night into the mountain called Olives. And every one of the people came at dawn unto him in the temple to hear him. Now came near, after 2 days being the festival of unleavened bread, and called the Passover. And it came to pass, when Jesus finished all these words, he said to his disciples, You know that after 2 days the Passover comes into being, and the Son of Man is delivered to be crucified. And then the chief priests, and the scribes, and the elders of the people came together into the courtyard of the high priest, called Caiaphas. And they took counsel together, in order to seek how to take hold of him, Jesus, in deceit, and to slaughter, kill him. Now they said, Not in the festival, so that there be no uproar among the people, for indeed they feared the people.
Don't forget to subscribe.